Perfect. All right. So we got the pool numbers in it, looks like. And what my goal is for you guys is to give you guys a little bit of my knowledge. Obviously, I don't know everything that there is. I've been hunting for a long time. I've been hunting since, I've been going out in the woods since the 90s with my dad and grandpa before I was old enough to hunt. So I'm an Eagle Scout, spend a lot of time with topography maps. And I can tell you right now, if you don't have Onyx, which, where's that at in this pool? Everybody's using Onyx or similar GPS. Perfect. Yeah, you got to be doing that in this day and age. So I do want to preface this letting you guys know that e-scouting, it's a really good way to cut down on the time that you're spending in the woods. If you get proficient at it, you can cover a lot more ground. So this is going to be really effective for those of you that are, I'm trying to multitask. For those of you that are hunting public land, especially, a lot of times private land, you only have 100, 200, if you're really blessed, 300 or more acres. Private land, you can get into the thousands of acres. And what I'll tell you is I use the e-scouting for both public and private. It doesn't really matter. So as far as the pool goes, we got a mixed bag with how many years of hunting. We got guys hunting both public and private, awesome. And we got some that are familiar with topo lines and some that are not. So I will start with that because that is probably one of the most important things here. Whether you have Onyx or you have an actual paper map, which is what I would have started using as a kid, topography lines are super important. So I currently have Onyx up right now, and I'm going to switch to a topo view, okay? I'll show you guys some of the actual spots that I hunt tonight, but I'm just going to zoom around some different areas just on the fly, okay? No rhyme or reason, and show you around here. So when we're looking at this spot right here, okay, the real white area, a lot of times that's going to be a field. Sometimes in maps, they're going to be marked white like that. So with Onyx, you can switch over to hybrid, and you can see, indeed, that area is a field, okay? You have to look at the ledger of a map. So like with Onyx maps, you have a lot more features right at your fingertips, but the ledger can tell you a couple things. So with Onyx, we have topo lines right here. So right here where this says 900, okay, that's gonna be your elevation. So if you follow this bold line, this 900 line all the way around, anything at that line is at 900 foot of elevation. So if you were to walk in a straight line and follow that contour, you're not going to go uphill, you're not going to go downhill, okay? Now, every map is a little bit different with how far apart the lines are spread and what they mean. So looking at this bold 900 line here, we know this is 900 feet of elevation. That's in reference to sea level. And if we drop my mouse down here to 800, that is 800 feet above sea level, okay? And if we drop down further here, we're at 700, okay? So it should make sense to you that this blue line is a creek in the bottom of a valley. So we go from the 700 to the 800 line. Something you can do here is you can count the lines in between. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in between the 7 and 800. So that tells me that they're approximately 250 feet to a line. Same thing from 8 to 900. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in between there. Okay, so from 800 to that first line, excuse me, not 200, 25 feet. So from 800 to this line, you're gaining about 25 feet of elevation. From here to here, now you're at 50, 75, and about 100 to that line. So the further the lines are spread apart, like right here, the further they're spread apart, the more gradual that slope is, okay? So just looking at this right here, we can see that it's not white, it has this green shade to it, and we put the hybrid on, and that's actually has a field on it, okay? Let me zoom in. So this right here, actually, guys, I like this spot for potential spot to hunt. This has a field that could be food, okay? And then you have all this cover around. But a nice big flat area like that, that's a good spot to key in on, that where deer can come out of these ridges and draws and come into there to feed. All right. So let me see if I can find a better example of colors where the fields are more white, but a lot of times they'll do that. Let me see here. But yeah, if you look at the overall white areas, a lot of times like this, that's going to be a field. Okay, and there's a field. So one of the big advantages to the online apps that your paper Topo Map doesn't have is that you can actually see the terrain in color. Okay, so if we go just north of this field, you can see. Let me zoom in. Do you see this different colors of the trees here? Okay, that actually tells you that this is a newer growth because it's thicker. Okay, so these are all things that you can take note to when you're e-scouting, that this being thicker and denser might be good cover to hold deer and animals. You really have no way of telling how tall that foliage is or isn't from the map. So that's where it's really important that when you e-scout, you take this information and then you actually apply it by going into the woods. All right. There's been times of going into areas blind, and you get into that area to set up a hunt, and it's totally opposite of what you thought. I'll give you a prime example. I was hunting way up in Minnesota, and you guys are gonna laugh when you see all these pins. I've literally been on all the corners of the U.S. minus the Pacific Northwest. And if I zoom way out, you'll see up here in Maine, that was actually me snowmobiling. But I've been down in Florida hunting. I've done a lot of stuff down in the southern part of Maryland. I've been in Montana. I've been out in Colorado, Missouri. Let me see if I can get this to zoom out some. But let me go up to, I was ice fishing. I got my phone somewhere around that pin, actually, down on the bottom of the lake. So we come up here to Minnesota, and you'll see that I have a different layer on, okay? And the reason is I was downloading different features of the map. So that's something really important, is to use and unlock the features of what OnX has to offer. So if we come over here, you can see I have Minnesota hunt areas toggled on. I click that, it's gonna go away, okay? And let me zoom in and just give you an example of e-scouting going wrong. So here it was, I forget how many hours it is to Minnesota. My buddy Brandon drove my truck and trailer up, and I actually picked him up. How'd that work? We picked him up at the airport, and then he drove the rest of the way out. Montana's when I picked him up, or he picked me up at the airport. It was like an 18-hour drive or something crazy, but we had never been there. So there was all these lakes and things like that. So we're doing our homework and looking at, private land, public land, and here was a place that I had scouted out and we thought would be awesome. So we actually brought kayaks in my trailer up to go to this hunting spot. And we were looking at places you could access that we could paddle to get in. I wanted to hunt the backside of this particular public. When we got there, we didn't realize the magnitude of these lakes. There's all these lakes here, so you figure they're little ponds coming from Pennsylvania, and there was literally whitecaps breaking, and it was November, freezing cold. So the kayaks never left the trailer. They stayed in there. It wasn't worth risking capsizing or kayak in a big lake and freezing to death and drowning. So that's one example where you can get overly excited about e-scouting, and then you show up and it's not exactly what you expected. So and I've used maps and different things for years and collaborating with the guys and all this different stuff, and you can still mess up. So I just wanted to share that.